Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, November 5th. If you are just tuning in, we just went over the first half of our NFL Power Rankings. In this segment, we finish off our show with the second half, ranked 16-1. Find out who is at the top of the NFL Power Rankings in just 1 second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, November 5th. But like I was saying, we're going to finish off our NFL Power Rankings here, getting in to 16 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I caught some flack for this last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 16. They were on a bye week, didn't want to touch them, but I still stand by what I had to say. The Pittsburgh Steelers have yet to really play anybody in this season. They have a great start. They're playing good football. The additions of Preston Smith and Mike Williams should help them out a bit. I still need to see it to believe it with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. This is not a team that I think is really going to be any kind of real threat, and I don't know why people continue to put them in the top 10, to be completely honest with you. They're at number 16. At 15, it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers showed me something last night, even shorthanded, even without any of their receivers. Receivers held to 2 catches until the final drive of the entire game for the Buccaneers. They were able to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buccaneers were able to go out there against, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL, in the Kansas City Chiefs, and stay toe-to-toe to them, force overtime. Arguably, should have gone for 2 there. I know I would have gone for 2 if I was if I were the Bucs in that situation. You know, hindsight is 20/20, right? You don't end up getting the coin toss, you end up losing. Whatever happens, that's just the way that it goes sometimes. I'm not going to question the decision too much, not what I would have done, but this is a Bucs team that really impressed me last night, especially defensively. They made a couple of big stops, sacked Patrick Mahomes a bunch of times, and you know, that's not something we had really seen out of this Bucs defense for the last couple of weeks. At 14, it's the Chargers, a team that I've definitely been too low on. I'm ready to start believing in this Chargers team, putting up a huge number against the Browns. This team just doesn't make mistakes. And if you let this team get a lead, they are not going to give it up. And that's the thing. A lot of NFL teams, if they get a lead, a 14-point lead, you don't always feel safe. With this Chargers team, if you let them get ahead of you, if you give them that inch of space, they're going to make it a mile. And that is what separates the good teams from the bad teams. The Chargers, still not a team that I think are fully there, but they have a lot of the pieces. And I think this is a Chargers team that if you let them, like I said, they will not let you back into the game. 13 goes to the Cardinals. I love the way this Cardinals defense has been playing. We saw them really show up against this Bears, holding them to the lowest point total of anybody this week, down to 9 points. And that can be put on a lot of things. The Bears offense didn't play particularly great. The Cardinals, on the other hand, have put out a lot of really good performances now. That's 3 straight games that they win. 2 on a game-winning field goal, but against good teams. The Bears, the Dolphins, the Chargers. These are all teams that we're looking at and we're saying they're not the greatest teams, but they're good teams. It's not like they're beating up on the Saints, the Raiders, the Panthers, these kind of teams, right? They're beating up against these teams that, you know, at least you say have a chance, have a little bit of a fight to maybe sneak in to the playoffs as like a 7 seed kind of situation. This is a Cardinals team I've been very impressed with, and I'm all the way back in on them. They're at number 13. At 12, it's the Falcons. And I think this is the line, 12 and higher, where you really get to see these like playoff contending teams. Nothing on the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Bucks, the Steelers, the Seahawks, the Broncos, these kind of teams that, you know, are a little bit lower than them on the power rankings. But I think the Falcons kind of start a whole nother tier. They're not Super Bowl contenders, but they're everyone from 12 and on. I would not be shocked if they made a run in the playoffs, if that makes sense. And the Falcons are on the edge of that. They're a team that when they play consistently, when they're on, when they get the run game going, when they get all their weapons available in the passing game, they're a team that can beat anybody. But that defense is the issue. The secondary that was supposed to be vaunted just has not played really smart defense. They've got a really good safety duo that just doesn't seem to communicate. The defense has not been all the way there. The offense is good enough to keep them in it. The Falcons are a team that I'm still a little worried about, but they're still in that would not be surprised if they made a run tier. At 11, it's the Rams. I've been trying to put you on game all season long. The Rams are a team that you should be afraid of. The Rams are a team that when they are healthy can compete with the best of them in the NFL. They finally get healthy. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp come back, and you see night and day in that offense. You see how effective Kyren Williams has become. He has a nose for the end zone like no one else that I have ever seen in this game of football. I swear to God, if he does not score a touchdown in every single game, if he doesn't score a touchdown in a game, I think the sky is falling down. That's how good he is at finding the end zone. The Los Angeles Rams just miss out on the top 10, but this is their highest rank of the season. They're up to number 11, and this is a Rams team that I think is really, really dangerous as we get down the stretch. At number 10 is the Texans, a very disappointing loss to the Jets. They're really banged up. This is the lowest they've been all year on our power rankings. This is still a team I believe in. That offensive line, I really thought they would try and I really thought this is a team that would try and get some help on the offensive line. We saw the Vikings go out and get a Cam Robinson. We saw some moves being made at the deadline. They ended up standing pat. They'll get Nico Collins back soon, and that's going to be a big get. But the Texans are a team that just quite aren't there when it comes to Super Bowl contention. They're still a really good team, and any given week, they could beat the brakes off of anybody. At 9, it's the Niners. The Niners up a spot to number 9 in a bye week. A big week for them. They get Christian McCaffrey back, and that's something that I'm going to hold off any hope for, but this is a team at number 9 that I think is a real threat in the NFC. Again, they've hung around. They've just done enough of a job to hang around while waiting for McCaffrey to come back. I think he completely transforms that offense, and I think we get to see the San Francisco 49ers that we saw last season and the season before once he comes back. At 8, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. How many times have we gone over this with the Eagles? When they play clean football, they are awesome. Nick Sirianni is going to coach this team out of a couple of wins every single week. He left 8 points on the board in this game because of bad decisions, because of bad play calls, because of decisions when you're going for 2 instead of going for 1. This is going to be an issue later on, but for now, when they're playing the Jaguars, it's fine. This is an Eagles team with so much talent that they can just beat up on anybody. But they need to fix those decisions. They need to make better decisions, and Nick Sirianni needs to figure that out now before it bites them in the butt later on this season. At 7, it's the Commanders. How about Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders? They go out there, they sweep the Giants. Doesn't sound like a big accomplishment, but they have not done that in forever. This is a team that's kind of been the Achilles heel for the Commanders. The Giants have really the only team that Daniel Jones has been successful against, but they go out there, they play a really good football game. Situational football is awesome for this team. The Washington Commanders make a move to be buyers at the deadline. I can't remember the last time that happened. The Commanders are on the up, and that Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels connection is so much fun to watch. At number 6, it's the Vikings. They played a sloppy game, but they were able to escape with a win on Sunday Night Football, a game that they needed after dropping 2 in a row. This was a get-right game for them, and it didn't look really right, but still, Sam Darnold escapes with a win. The Minnesota Vikings still better than just about everybody else in the sport right now. Still not 100% convinced about them, though. And as we enter the top 5 here, I think there is a pretty clear divide between these top 5 teams and everybody else in the league. I drew another line at 12. 5 is where I think that next line comes. These top 5 teams, I think, are the Super Bowl contending teams, the teams that I think should be the teams that people pick to go to the Super Bowl right now. Just these 5. At number 5, it's the Packers. They're coming off of a brutal loss. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A brutal loss to the Lions. Jordan Love played his worst football game. He's a little bit hurt, but he is a guy that's a gunslinger. You're going to get some of those games. He hasn't made a lot of those mistakes all season long. This is a Packers team, especially with the way that defense is playing. Holding the Lions to just 24 points is a success. And if you take away that defensive touchdown, holding them to just 17 points is crazy. Holding that Lions team under 20 points offensively is a great look for that Packers defense. And this is a Packers team that I think people are sleeping on a little bit, especially because of how bad they kind of looked in that game. But still, this is a Packers team I think deserves a lot more respect than they're getting right now, and they're at number 5. At number 4, it's the Buffalo Bills. They have run away with that division, and outside of them in the AFC, there's not many teams that I think you can talk about being true contenders. Right now, the NFC has been that top tier, which is not really what we expected. There's a couple teams in the AFC, but the Bills, the way they're playing, that running game, Josh Allen playing like an MVP right now, they are the number 4 team in the league. And they're just slightly behind the top 3, which again, I'm going to draw another line at the top 3 here. There's another separating line. We got line 12-6, line 5-4, line 3-1. That's what we're looking at right now when we're talking about the tiers as far as contenders go in the league. And that takes us to the first of my top 3 contenders, the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are a team that you do not want to see in the playoff. This is a team that is built for playoff football. We talk about all the time about how physical playoff football is. And if you talk about this Ravens team with that combo of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers going for 100 yards every single first half, we have to figure out what's going on in that second half. In the second half, they just run the ball with Derrick Henry and grind it down, which is why he doesn't really do anything in the second half there, but this is a Ravens team that has seemingly found a formula. They'll play down to their opponents sometimes, but this is a Ravens team that you do not want to see in the playoffs. They are number 3. Number 2 is the Lions. The Lions come off their first ever game outside this season, which is crazy, and they play in the elements, the toughest elements that teams have had to play in all season long, I think, and they still come out there, they do their job. Jared Goff, very efficient. He just simply doesn't throw incompletions. 30 for 30 in his last 30 throws when targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown. He catches another touchdown. That run game is dangerous, and you're starting to see a theme with these top teams. They all have that run game. Derrick Henry, that backfield duo, Sonic and Knuckles in Detroit. We're starting to see a transition as more and more teams go to those 2 high looks. If you can run the ball, you are going to be a very successful team. But of course, it doesn't matter because the number 1 team are the Kansas City Chiefs. They get DeAndre Hopkins and immediately they look better. I told you a million times, I'll tell it to you again, this Chiefs defense is the best in football. The way that linebacker core plays, especially against the run, they do not let people run on them. They are able to play that 2 high cover shell with that and not let the run go. That is insane. That is not a normal thing you're supposed to be able to do, and no one has been able to run on the Chiefs all season long. They add DeAndre Hopkins. He catches 2 touchdowns. They're only getting better. Patrick Mahomes is only getting better. He really struggled through the first half of the season. I am scared to think what this team will do when they finally figure that offense out, and right now they are on track for that. The Chiefs, number 1 still. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts of my power rankings. Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Go relax. Go pay attention to things going on in the world. It is a big night, not just in sports, but, obviously around the world. I will be back same time tomorrow talking about the college football playoff committee and their rankings. We're going to do mid-season awards for the NFL Rookie Report, and much more. So make sure you tune in for that. We'll be back same time, same place then. I've been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. You have been listening to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Appreciate all of you. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.